Hello and welcome to the Gym Academy podcast. This podcast is all about helping you grow your gym and learn from experienced gym owners so you know what to do to take your gym to the next level. Good news is I have an expert on this exact subject with me. He's the head of the CS team whenever it comes to Gym Academy, and he's coached countless gym owners to success. And I just want to welcome Ryan. How you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing great. How are you, Josh?
I'm doing good, buddy. I've been looking forward to doing this podcast, and it's episode number 1. So you are like setting the tone for the rest of the podcast. No pressure or anything. Just want to make sure you knew that. But I feel
Yeah,
like it's a good go for it. Sorry.
I was gonna say I don't deserve the first one, but we'll do our best. I'm happy to be here and happy to be talking to you as always.
Hey, I mean, you're one of the like longest running Gym Academy coaches. So I'm pretty sure you've earned this spot. So tell me a little bit about yourself. Let everyone know how you got with Gym Academy and kind of your background in the industry.
Yeah, so obviously you said my name. I'm Ryan. I've been with Gym Academy for a couple years now, and so I started in the fitness industry. I was actually in construction and a couple different industries. I've been working since I was like 14, but classic route of going like Gold's Gym, big box, slinging memberships at a front desk at the earliest into like strength coaching, did a stint in the NFL, and then worked my way to a recovery facility where I was doing like functional training, and we were utilizing like a lot of like recovery modalities, flotation therapy, cryo, PEMF therapy, a bunch of cool stuff. And I was selling high ticket, and I was operating a place for a good friend of mine with a good friend of mine. And he came to me randomly one day out of the blue and said, "Hey, we're hiring a company to help us grow." And I was like, cool. Wasn't on the calls, had no idea what it entailed. And eventually found myself on a call with Josh, one of the owners, as I'm sure he'll be on a podcast, hopefully, fingers crossed. And yeah, he just started filling me in on everything that was going to happen as far as like making calls and the duties for what I had to do and what my partner had to do at the time. And that transparently sounded like a lot. It was my first impression of like truly what it took to grow like a fitness business. And I was just like drinking from a fire hose first call. And like transparently, I wasn't on many calls with Josh, but he was like, got to do this, got to make these calls, all these things. And transparently, I didn't do. The funny part is, ironically enough, I didn't do anything at first. It was actually terrible. I was a terrible client. And it wasn't maybe like, I don't know, about a month later, I finally got on a call with Josh, and he was asking me questions, and he was like, "You're making the calls, right?" And I was like, "Yeah, calls. These leads stink. All these leads are trash. I'm talking to them. Nobody's showing up, blah, 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 blah." Same thing everybody else says. And I could just see in his face that he didn't believe me at all. And he was like, "Look, man, just commit to doing the process for 30 days. And I was like, all right, slept on it, woke up the next day, decided just to put my all into the process, maybe even like 70%. I didn't put my all into it even, but the business grew by $10,000 in 30 days by simply just like, I think I probably made maybe 50 calls was maybe my best volume, but like $10,000 in 30 days. So much so where I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. And I obviously grew to really love Josh because he's a freaking awesome guy. And I got to know Bob as well and kind of indulged in the community a little bit. And I talked to my partner at the time, and I was like, look, man, I'm going to see if they're hiring, because I just absolutely loved the mission. I loved the process. I loved the team. I loved everything about it. And Josh was like, yeah, we're hiring. So then he threw me a bone, got on the team. I was one of like 4 SDRs. I started off on the sales team, just slinging calls all day long. And it was one of those like, 2 of you guys are going to make it, 2 of you guys aren't. And I just put my head down and just made as many calls as I could and did pretty well. And started in sales, moved over to like account executive, selling via Zoom to gym owners, and then slowly made my way over to CS. And I've been with CS for, I don't even know, feels like forever, an eternity now. But that's the Spark Notes version of my story. It's very riveting. So that's a little about me. Outside of that, I also make electronic music, 140. It's like dubstep-ish. And I also DJ. But these days, I love working way more than anything. So I typically just find myself doing that. So that's my spiel.
So you're a DJing workaholic who loves helping gyms grow. I love it. I also love the fact that you've seen both sides of the coin. You were able to actually go through the customer journey and feel the pain that a lot of people go through, especially when gyms first start. Like making a phone call is just unheard of. And I'm sure this is something that you struggled with since you did struggle with it when you first started. What's some tips you can give to people whenever they're like just starting, they know that they need to make the calls? What's some things you did to get over that hump and actually start picking up the phone and dialing?
Well, have a good coach first. It wasn't until, I maybe had 4 calls with Josh, and I think by then he just knew how to talk to me and to coerce me into actually doing it. But outside of that, like your own personal journey, I mean, yeah, call reluctancy is the thing, and I'll be the first to say that. But like, if you want to get really, the first step is just the hardest, like actually just picking up the phone and making the first dial. But there's a helpful reframe that like Mike on the team, hopefully he's on podcast too. Mike on the team, he's one of our coaches. He typically talks about go for no, where it's like, instead of making calls, we all have a tendency of making calls and thinking like, I gotta sell this person. Like, you're so attached to the outcome of the call. But when you can reframe it into like, go for no. So just like make it your goal instead to like make a sale, because you're not going to sell them over the phone, or you probably shouldn't unless you're savage, but like, go for no. So go into your calls with the goal of just getting a no, or getting somebody to tell you to kick rocks or whatever it is. Like, go for the negatives so you expect it, because the negatives are typically what lead to people being like, man, I'm not calling anymore. This sucks. My leads stink. Growing a business sucks. Why'd I start a gym in the first place? So I would say go for no, but also just bear down, because every call can lead to, $6,000 in revenue. You sign up a client, they stay for over a year. Like, that's that. If you did that, every single call that you would make is worth it. But typically we're just so stuck in our own negative spiraling thoughts that we just like end up not doing it. When in reality, if you just did it, like, you would end up making more money. So all that to say, I wanted to make money and I had to. So I figured this is probably where I should start, is making calls.
Yeah, that's always a good step one, is making sure that you actually just call the damn leads, as Bob would yell at you from the ether.
Yeah.
So obviously making calls is step number one. But once someone actually gets efficient at that and they start realizing, hey, I can make money doing this, the business face other bottlenecks along the way. And
Uh-huh.
as a coach, it's your job to kind of help through that journey. So, say someone's making the calls, they're actually doing what they need to, they're getting leads in. How do you make sure that you're helping them grow once they've conquered the dragon that is actually making these phone calls?
It's a great question, and it's fairly loaded. So a lot of times, so we pay attention to, we work off heavily in Gym Academy with data, as you know. So like, you can't run your business off of anything but data. Typically people make the mistake of running their business off of feelings, which is why people end up stuck forever, because their feelings lie, right? But data doesn't lie, as whoever said that, I can't remember who the heck said it, but numbers don't lie, men and women do. But when people finally are able to make the calls, a lot of times, like, the next step is just getting good on the phone, which is a wildly overlooked skill, I would say, in today's day and age. Is everybody texts, everybody's buried in their phones, but nobody really talks anymore. So getting good on the phone will take reps and just like learning sales. But typically from a KPI standpoint, we always lead to either um, a book rate or a show rate issue, meaning like, either book rate is people are picking up the phones, but we just can't get them booked. Probably too transactional, maybe robotic-y, no personality, whatever it is. Or we book a ton of appointments, which is great, or and none of them show, right? So at that point, and it's normally the next step in GA, unless people just know how to talk to people, which is more rare than people think. A lot of times what we do is we listen to actual call recordings, like if we have a show rate issue. So we'll listen to a call recording, figure out what the biggest bottlenecks in the conversation are, and make sure that we're actually following the process as far as like the script, and like asking the good questions, getting them excited for the appointment or the free class, whichever it is, and then actually tying them down at the end of the call. So like, there's a few touch points that you need in order for these people to show at a high clip. Like, typically we're only shooting for 40% of leads booked and 50% of them show, 50% of them close. So it's not a huge, it's not a high bar to get to, but typically that's what we run into, is just like poor quality of conversation. A lot of, as you have experienced now, like, hey, we're awesome. We're so good. Our coaches are awesome, and we have the best machines in the world. Like, nobody cares about that, right? So it's honing people in to do what matters most, which is just focusing on the prospect, being present, asking good questions. And then once they do show, typically we run into a close issue. And luckily for Gym Academy, we have an amazing presentation that we use that leads to people being able to close a bunch of leads. But chances are, if you're anything like me when I started, you weren't using it. So there's a little bit of a period of just coercing people into actually using it. Once they do, it goes well. But so yeah, it's typically a book rate, show rate, or a close rate issue, all of which we solve for. Sometimes it takes time, sometimes it doesn't, but either way, those are the big things that we run into once they're actually able to make a call, which most people don't even get past is the calling part. So we typically spend the most of our time just getting them to make calls, which is fine, you know.
It's just fine. Everything's fine. I just hearing you say that makes me think of that dog meme where someone's drinking coffee and there's fire everywhere, and you're just like, everything's fine. You've made
Yeah,
2 calls this week, but this is fine.
yeah, everything's fine. Everything's fine.
I definitely get calling does suck, so I definitely understand why. I know we already touched this, but I'm gonna circle back to it because I actually just thought about this because calling seems to be a root problem for everyone, and I just thought about one of the things you mentioned was if you think about the long-term success about how each call could be worth like 6K, 7K, and sometimes if you're doing front-end offers like we teach you in Gym Academy, it could be worth like 1,000 right off the pop. I kinda wanted to share something that helped me get past that whole, like, I hate calling phobia thing. I actually stopped thinking about calling as a today thing, and I started kind of future setting everything I was doing. So basically, I would make 100 calls today, but I would tell myself for every 100 calls I made today, that was 2,000 to $3,000 I was making tomorrow. So basically, I would tell myself if I called 100 people today, I would 100% get $2,000 tomorrow. And even if that was a lie or whatever it may be, it made me get through that whole process because I mean, it can 100 be true. Like if you make those calls, you could wake up tomorrow with $2,000 in your bank account. So that's how I broke through that barrier. You also mentioned something along the lines of some different stats, KPIs that you track, and those were like the 3 things that you look for whenever it comes to growing, which was show rate or book rate, show rate, and close rate. What's some good like milestones to shoot for whenever it comes to those 3 metrics?
So yeah, I mean, it would probably be helpful for me to go into like how I actually like, dissect a data sheet, which sounds really graphic, but that's how it is. So like you look at a data sheet, assuming people are making closes, like the first thing that you look at, and everybody needs if you're watching this and you're like, what is data? Like learn how to track data. It will change your business. I promise you. So get a good data sheet. We got a great one. But how I look at a data sheet is typically I go to the CPA first. So cost to acquire a customer or CAC. So CPA, CAC, whatever people call it different things. But that's the first thing I look at. So through your cost to acquire a customer, you're going to be able to know if your marketing or if your ads are actually scalable. So from there, let's say you're spending 50 a day on ads, you're spending 1,500 a month, you sign up 10 people, your CAC's going to be 150. So like if I look at a client account, I'm like, sweet, they're doing great. Like the only thing that I'll tell them to do is just spend more on ads. But typically what happens, especially early on in the program, is the CAC is high enough, like maybe more than 200, depending on what they're charging. Like, small group, like if you're sub 250, you're golden. Large group, you want to be a little bit lower, but typically people's cost to acquire a customer is lower than what they're signing people up for, right? So then at that point as a coach, you're like, all right, well, like we're not maybe profitable on the first month, so let's see what's going on. At that point, if the CPA isn't exactly what it needs to be, then I go to book rate, show rate, close rate, and we want those to be 40% book rate, 50% show rate, 50% close rate. Like if you operate off of those KPIs, you're going to be in good shape. The business is probably wildly scalable. Large group might take you a little bit more time due to, a lower cost or a lower price point. Small group, obviously you're going to grow like wildfire. But those are the big benchmarks. Yeah, 40% book, 50% show, 50% close, and then you want to sell around 10 to 20% of your total leads for the month. Those are the benchmarks you want to shoot for. If you are looking at your data and you're thinking, man, one of these is off, then like something's broken in your process or you have a people problem. It's like typically to go a layer deeper, it's like we're hammering away to solve a KPI and it's not budging. Either it's a process or a people problem is typically how I will communicate with clients. Almost always in this industry, you got part-timers in your building, probably a people problem, right? That's why we always talk about doing full or a full-time team. But yeah, those are the big benchmarks. I'm trying to think of anything else. And obviously attrition sub 5%. It's like it gets up to 6 sometimes. Like that's fine, but like you want to shoot for sub 5% attrition. And I think those are the big KPIs. I think that's it. Right? I don't think I'm missing anything.
No, I think you nailed it. Kind of walk me through your thought process. You're dissecting this data sheet, right? They actually track their data, which would be awesome. That's a whole new animal. They track their data. Their CAC isn't that bad, but it's not where you want it to be. What's the hierarchy of metrics? Like, say all of the metrics are a little bit on the lower side. How do you decide which one you're going to take on first?
I think it depends on the model to a degree, but so like for instance, if it's a small group model, they're charging 400 to 500 bucks, and let's say they have a 40% book rate, their show rate's really low, but their close is like 70, 80%. They're going to be good. So the milestones are one thing, but KPIs will dip and dive a little bit. All of it, like that's why you want to just pay attention to CAC. But I would say, I mean, historically the issues are within close rate. That's where most of the issues lie, I would say. Like if you're closing 80% of leads, you're in good shape. Unless nobody's showing up for the appointments or you're just not calling your leads, which happens a lot, then like you're still going to be okay to a degree, like if you have a high close rate. So I would say like close rate is the North Star. CPA is the North Star metric, in totality, but like more like KPI specifically, I would say close rates your North Star. And I could be biased just because I love sales, but that's why I always advise everybody to get obsessed with sales, because if you're closing people at a high clip, like everything's a lot easier.
Life does make it easier whenever you know for a fact if someone walks through your door, you're going to walk out with a ka-ching. That does make life a lot more
Yeah.
entertaining, which, I mean, that sales deck, that thing is fire. Did you notice a drastic change? Did you ever end up using it, or did you just, get good at sales? What did you end up doing?
I used it. I mean, I did. I didn't use it as much as I should have, but no, I used it and I got a kick out of it, but I mainly just got obsessed with sales, to be honest, and just like having really good conversations and just asking the right questions. And like they always talk about like the rules of sales, and like we're always we're always trying to do what's in the best interest of the client, trying to push them out of their comfort zone. And I just got that whole concept, I just got obsessed with, seeing people come in with walls and barriers, and so they're so fearful because they've been burned or whatever it is. Like I loved those moments. So I just learned how to navigate those conversations and just focus on them and just have really good conversations. So I would attribute any success I've had in sales, because I'm not God's gift to the earth, but any success I've had in sales, I attribute to just getting good at just talking to people. But everybody should use a process and everybody should use a presentation. When I did use the presentation is when I was closing, like 75, 80%. But if I was just, you know, going at it raw, I was typically like 60% maybe. So use a presentation. Yeah, I didn't use it as much as I should have. It's a damn good presentation. It really is. And it's funny.
Yeah, Josh did a phenomenal job of that. I actually took someone who knew nothing about sales, never sold anything in her life, gave her that presentation, and now she closes 80% at my gym. Like within 2 weeks of me coaching her, just here's a presentation, go. I love it. But you still have to have some skill with talking to people. So it sounds like you worked really hard. You fell in love with the process of actually getting good at sales. What's some tips or actions that you took to actually get better at being at sales, doing sales?
So reading books, obviously, I mean, there's so many good sales books out there, and just human connection books too. Just like the learning how to actually just create a connection first. It's like the most important thing you can do. But also like books like The Challenger Sale. Some of the other good books are escaping me, but that's like the biggest one that kind of helped reframe sales in my head, because for the longest time, just like a lot of people, I sold out of my own pocket, right? Like, and I wasn't crushing it, at one point in my life. So it was hard for me to sling $1,700, like $500 a month memberships, which I was at the time. So reading books, but also just reps, like that's the biggest thing, like reps. Like on the phone, for example, when I started with GA Gym Academy, I didn't feel super comfortable on the phone. I had enough ability to be able to like carry on a conversation and get past the first like 30 seconds of the call, but there was something that wasn't I don't know, something wasn't clicking. And it wasn't until I made, $4,000 or dials to where I was like, oh, okay. So it's like, end of the day, it's just reps and listening to call recordings like of other people who are way better than you, and also just accepting that you're really not that good. I would say that's like way back. Step one is like countless times you meet gym owners who are like, just bring them in the door. I'll close them. It's like, okie dokie. Like, got it. Like, we'll see. We'll see. But it's like, we're not all that good at sales. Like, we can all get better. But I would say the biggest thing is just getting the reps, honestly. And the biggest thing for me personally, one of the biggest reminders, and I would actually have a sticky note up on my computer when I was slinging deals, was just like helping, like in big letters. It was like, just help people and be curious and be authentic. Like, those are the three things I had written on a sticky note always. And I would look at it before every single sales meeting that I had, because I wanted that to be what people saw more than just some guy trying to make some money. Like, I want to help them more than anything. So all that to say, I feel like if the main focus going into sales is a white belt mentality, and then also the drive to get the reps to get better, and then also having the focus at the forefront being, I'm here to help this person. Those are the three biggest things in a nutshell, I would say, that have helped me personally.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of the GA live event in Nashville, which was amazing, by the way. If anyone ever wants to get to know some people, or you want to grow rapidly, get in the same room with people that are actually putting the effort in. But Dan, the Cell Savage, what's Dan's last name? Dean, that's it. Dean, massive dude, massive dude.
It starts with a K, and hopefully he never watches this because he'd beat me up. But yeah,
Hey,
Dean something.
I said all I know is he's the Cell Savage, and he means it. And that's the thing he kept going back to, was like, we all got in this industry to really help people, but for some reason, someone walks in the door who needs our help, and we become like this babbling buffoon that doesn't know how to help anyone. Like, we don't actually try to help the person in front of us. We're just trying to focus on what's important for us. So I couldn't agree more, going back into actually trying to help the person, trying to be there for them, and trying to do whatever really is in the best interest of them, no matter what that is. And another thing you mentioned that I'm a big fan is getting the reps in. I was a huge fan of role playing whenever I first was trying to learn sales. And it's a risk-free environment to make mistakes and learn and actually grow from. So that's something that I feel like everyone should start doing, is role playing with anyone and everyone who will listen to you. And the less they know about your industry, the better, because it's a real test. They can just tell you if they felt like they were being sold or not. And if they say no, then you won. I love it.
Yeah. No, you're right. And funny, the story is like, when I first started with Gym Academy, like 2 weeks into being an SDR, just sitting on Zoom working virtually, like David, who should 100% be on this, our top SDR, has been forever. This guy, very intense, insanely smart and gifted, like probably the best in the industry at what he does. I role played with him. I role played with him one day. So you want to role play with people who are way better than you, and who, aren't afraid to tell you what's up, and you need to have thick skin. He told me, we role played once, and we got off, and he was just like, that was shit. That was terrible. That was like the worst I've ever heard. Like, why are you even in this industry? And I was like, dang, like, he just ripped me apart. And I could take it at the time. Maybe it took me a day to maybe recalibrate, but after that, I was like, it's just a different level of drive. It's like almost like it's fascinating because it's like the embarrassment aspect of the role play, like, just makes, I don't know why. It's like, I crave that feeling. And if you can willingly put yourself in a role play with people that are way better than you get better so much faster. The issue is, people are terrified to role play, but if you're terrified to role play, you're going to be terrified to do it live. So it's like, just like sports, you got to practice, as much of a live rep example as possible. So yeah, I agree. We try to role play as much as possible, but we should honestly do it more. Definitely.
And it's also hard because if you get someone who really doesn't want to do it, they turn it into a game, which helps no one. I've role played with my team a couple times here at Dedicated, and every single time they try to like make it funny. I'm just like, stop making jokes. Just, if you did this to a real person, you would be fired. So why would you do it here? Like, it makes no sense. So taking it seriously is also another challenge, getting them to actually put in the reps as if they're really doing it. But game tape comes in handy too. How often would you recommend someone watch game tape if they really want to make changes?
Oh man, this is actually funny. I still to this day watch my own calls. Like, obviously I'm on the CS side now. So it's like, I'm typically always watching my own calls, and I don't want to say I do it daily, because I don't these days, but when I was back in sales, I was listening to I would have a good call, and I would immediately listen to it and take notes, or, send it to somebody who I trusted and I liked their opinion, and they would give me feedback on it as well. So, like, honestly, for me, it was every day for a long time, and I felt like it was helpful for me, but I feel like some people don't necessarily, like, some people can get in their head too much. So I would say, like, if you find yourself overthinking, if you start watching or listening game tape and you find yourself overthinking when you're doing live reps, dial it back. But my recommendation would be to do it as much as humanly possible and get over, like, everybody's like, "Oh, I hate hearing my voice." Get over it. Who cares? Like, really, that's what you're worried about? That's what's stopping you from getting better? Like, you caring about your voice? Big deal. So, like, get over that. And the cringiness that you listen to is what inevitably leads you to be like, "All right, well, I'm never doing that again." Um, and then you find yourself just, like, so dialed in. So, yeah, I would do it every single day, 100%.
Couldn't agree more. That was like my cheat code, role playing and listening to game tape. And listen, if I can get over listening to my voice, I sound like freaking Mickey Mouse. If I can get over that, then anyone can. The one thing I struggled though, whenever it came to game tape, is deciding which, because you only have so much time, right? And I would like to dedicate like an hour or so to, honing my skills every morning. So I'd spend 30 minutes role playing and then 30 minutes listening to game tape. How would you decide what tapes to listen to? Like, I personally tried to listen to the ones that were like near misses is what I would like to listen to. But what would you rank as like, you have list of 5, you only have time for 1. What one would you try to pick?
I mean, honestly, my really bad ones, like I said, it's
Oh, you go
the
straight for the cringe. You just want to hurt your soul. I get it.
I have had the worst calls you've ever heard, and I always feel like I get better the fastest as a result of that. With regarding like what I said earlier, I'm like, I'm literally never doing that again. But it's the worst calls when I can get over just like it being like, God, why did you say that? Like, what are you even talking about? Those are always the best ones. I never really want, if I get off a call and I'm like, that was a good call, and we have feedback and things like that that are submitted to clients, and they respond and say like great call or whatever. So like we're able to get feedback from the team, which, like, everybody, if you guys do Zoom calls or whatever, you should do that feedback loop stuff. But I don't watch the good ones because I just feel good about them. I'm like, cool, sweet, moving on. So yeah, I would say the worst calls you ever have, I would listen to them 2 to 3 times over. That's what I would do.
I think I agree too. Like, I do think that the worse they are, the more likely you are to actually make a change if you can get past the cringe factor. And honestly, we kind of fixed 2 of the major KPIs in this one thing. Like, if you get good in game taping, good at role playing, you fix show rate and you fix close rate, which are 2 of the most important things right off the bat. However, if one of the biggest well, I guess it'd be book rate and show rate, so you kind of fix 3. However, if you're someone who, like, you've practiced this, you're getting really good at the close, and there's still something just missing with the show rate, like we need to get more people in the door. What's some other practical tips you can recommend to actually get people to show up and actually get in front of you so you can practice the skills that you're doing?
Yeah. There's a bunch of things you could do, but I always think about the whole, and you're great at this, the like automating the whole client journey or prospect journey, whichever, before they become a client and after they become a client, and making that very personable. And that could look a number of ways, like from just like the messaging in your actual automations to actually, like, when it's sent out to a client, you want them to think like this is coming from them only to me. So personalizing everything, like, at a general level is like the main goal, but like things that I would do immediately is inserting like a welcome video into your automations where like the client gets it either, when they book an appointment or when they just initially come in as a lead, as like an email or a video in an email that's like, hey, here's who I am, this is what we do, super excited to meet, here's what we're going to go over. Like, set really good expectations and show them why they're showing up, make it exciting. Also on videos is like, just send out personal videos to people if they have an appointment that day. Like, whip your phone out, selfie style, while you're in front of the gym or in your office or whatever, like during a class, like, hey, what's up, Josh? Super excited to see you. Like, this is our building. So if you drive up, it's this ugly ass building behind me. Like, you won't miss it. I think those things are super practical and they're super easy to do. And most people aren't doing them, but it's basically like personalize the experience, mainly regarding automations and the things that you send out to clients, but make the person feel welcomed and special, which is what most people do. People do the bare minimum, and that's why their business is the bare minimum, right? Like, if you strive to deliver excellent service from the first phone call to, the moment they cancel, if they ever do, then like you're going to be in great shape. Deliver what the people want, which is human connection, which is like these days people want that more than ever. You know what I mean?
People underestimate the power of that, especially with like AI everywhere. Like this coming from a guy who like loves AI, just clarifying. That video showing your personality and actually welcoming them by name is a game changer. And on top of that, I actually found because I got really big into this, making the videos and sending them out beforehand. It was the one thing that part of my process that was systematized but not automated. It was sending those videos. In the times that like I left it raw, where I left the ums, I like stumbled up over my words. I had to start a couple times. Like, and I left all that in. Those were the ones that actually got people in because you could tell it was real. Like, it's just some guy who's got a gym who's like, hey, I'm here to help you, and I might mess up my words, but I'm a real person. I actually had one where I actually started the video with like, "Hey, I'm Josh Riggs. I'm actually a real person. I'm not some random robot from the internet." That's kind of cool, right? But anyway, this is my gym. So that raw, real, personalized touch is definitely the biggest difference I think you can make whenever it comes to getting people in the door. Now, we've covered a lot as far as like how people can actually make changes and how they can get better and improve. One important thing that I'm going to ask every guest on this show, and something that a lot of people, everyone has one of these. What is one thing you wish you would have known sooner when it came to actually growing in business?
We talked about this question. I figured I'd have an answer by now. I think there's so many things, dude, but the biggest thing is the acceptance that you're not good at anything. Like, just accept it. Like, even if you are really good at something and you know it and the data shows it, like, just have a white belt mentality. I will admit, I started off, the reason why I didn't do anything in the first place is because I thought I was awesome and I thought I was great at sales. And I was like, I don't need to make calls. What are these guys who can talk? This company that exists, that's a consulting. Yeah, what do they know? It's like the audacity to have that kind of a mindset. But we all do, and it's fine. And like, if people are watching this thinking like, well, no, I know everything. Like, bring the lead in, I'll close them. Like, I'm telling you, for your own success, just accept that you're not this good. You're not that good. Unless you have a business that's making $100,000 a month at 50% profit and you have a full team and you're sipping a margarita in Fiji, like, there's more to learn. And it wasn't until I met awesome guys like Josh and like, you came aboard, down the road, but like surrounding yourself with people who all have the same mindset, which is, I want to be the best I can be, and I really don't know shit. It's like those two things I would say are the most important things for a gym owner, but also just an entrepreneur in general. It's just white belt mentality, be a sponge, and just have the drive to actually put the reps in. Because honestly, as you know, the main reason why people fail in Gym Academy or any of these other companies that do similar things to us is they just can't get past the doing the thing part. Like, they just can't do the thing, and it's wildly frustrating. But this one thing that's stopping their business from growing is their own mind and themselves staying in their own way, but they just won't get past the willingness to like put the work in. Like, so I would say, so two answers, sorry. The first one is you don't know shit, okay? The second one is put the freaking work in. And I would say, like, again, join Gym Academy, join any of these other companies that are doing some level of coaching. It's like you're joining a coaching program. So you should definitely come in thinking like, hey, maybe I don't know anything. And the people who do that and who are also willing to say, tell me when to jump and I'll jump, how high, those people are the ones like Studio Fit in Chicago, or Temple Fitness in Franklin, or the Fit Lab in San Diego, or DNA Fitness in Fullerton. Like, these people who have made hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars even, are just like, tell me what to do and I'll do it. And so, yeah, nutshell, I would say have that mentality, is just tell me what to do and I'll do it. And if people come on our side, they'll know the term for that is audacious lion, which is just fearless. Just tell me what to do and I'll do it. So that's what I'd say is like the biggest quality. Yeah.
I actually couldn't agree with that more. Like the actual roll up your sleeves, put the work in, and be willing to make changes and accept you don't know everything. That is great advice. Well, Ryan, I definitely appreciate you taking the time to share all this with us. And if you want to meet Ryan in person, you are more than well, not in person, but virtually, you're more than welcome to jump on a Gym Academy call, see what we're all about. And you might even get the man, the myth, the legend, Ryan, as your coach. But until next time, Thank you so much for watching and keep growing.